the project report, that was only 15,000 rupees. Only 15,000 rupees for the development of stainless steel water tanks. And we did not sanction that. We said cost was too high. So here we were trying to promote the use of steel, and here we were not even sparing that small amount. But what has happened eventually is that water tanks went around to be produced, and today every mandir, masjid, gurdwara has only stainless steel water tanks. Stainless steel absolutely proliferated. The more steel you make, the more stainless steel you make, all of that gets consumed. We are very, very fond of stainless steel. I am familiar with two rural areas, one in Haryana where I presently live, and the other is West Bengal where I belong. And I find that if you go to the villages, all fabricators only produce stainless steel. So my father wanted a railing in Bolpur in his house in Shantiniketan, and since I don't like stainless steel, so that is the proliferation of stainless steel fabrication in rural India. Indians, if you give Indians stainless steel, will consume it because we love the shine. We just love it like a material, and we are willing to pay for it. We are willing to pay the price because we are also gold holders, silver holders, anything shiny we love. So with that little thing, and I think that without even the government policy, if stainless steel is available, we are going to put it into any kind of use, whatever use there is imaginable. We never thought that we are going to put stainless steel grills in windows, but that's what we do now. So you really have to travel in our villages to know how stainless steel has caught on. With these words, my first question is to Dr. Mubarak, that you have these infrastructure projects. What kind of stainless steel products do you use? So this is my question.
Good afternoon, all. I am very thankful for the organizers for calling us and for discussing about the stainless steel market. As far as infrastructure is concerned, as I am from construction background, you all know that many infrastructures, the main naturally is of concrete and steel, right? As you rightly said, yes, stainless steel is very, very costly. It is costly, but I think as the days will pass and as there will be awareness among industries, specifically in construction industries, what are the advantages of stainless steel as compared to others. So definitely this market will go up. Right now in construction field, the amount of stainless steel used is very less because of its cost. Of course, there are possible of nickel and all of the terms. Even in IS code also now they are saying yes, we should use stainless steel because there are number of advantages. As far as construction is concerned, the main advantage is that it does not corrode. So corrosion does not happen because during construction, if there is any corrosion, so it's like cancer. When anything corrodes, slowly it expands. When it expands, the concrete expands, and there is a sparring of concrete. It falls down. There are leakages, seepage, or all sorts of problem comes. So if we start using stainless steel as a reinforced material, this corrosion problem will we can tackle or we can handle corrosion problem, and lots of maintenance will be there will be no maintenance if we are using stainless steel. Of course, now the company or the industry have become little bit lower in prices because we all know that construction infrastructure prices are in crores, and we always think about economy. Of course, there are many advantages, and looking nowadays for infrastructures, we always design for 100 years for durability, sustainability. I just recently completed coastal road project. So now we know the advantages of stainless steel. Of course, we are using stainless steel grills, railings on pavements, on footpaths. We are starting using stainless steel. That is not the issue. But in construction, in main beams, columns, slabs, there now it should be used. So I think in construction industry, some awareness, more such summits or more such conferences has to become so that our builders and contractors and government they should be convinced for using stainless steel in different infrastructure projects.
Why using this stainless steel? It is they're close to heavy sections and long products. So where do you source this material from? From the fabricators or from the mills?
We directly, as far as infrastructure is concerned, big infrastructure we directly discuss with manufacturers. Yes, it's because the quantity is huge, so we go for retail.
So my next question is actually to Ms. Megha Tambilkar and to Mr. Dahikar together. Now, this is of course Mr. Nilesh's subject which will be happening. One of the major raw materials for stainless steel is the stainless steel scrap. Now, as you are specialized in fatigue, we know that scrap has fatigue. So, and the use of scrap also raises the energy costs. So, how do you actually, what I was suggesting yesterday to Mr. Dahikar actually, that you have a BIS standard. So, is it possible to have a process standard as well? So, I think both of you, will you take your time to answer this?
Good afternoon all. So as far as the question is concerned regarding the process standards, we have standards for test methods. So like for fatigue testing and other tests like intergranular corrosion, which usually happens in stainless steel, we do have standards for them, and the requirements and the method of test is specified in the standards for those kind of tests.
It's basically a product testing, the testing of the product.
Yeah, it is a product testing, or what you can say a prototype testing, or product testing, or service life evaluation that can be extrapolated based on the results that are obtained during the testing.
Actually, why I asked this question that to Mr. Dahikar and to Ms. Jambale together, there is a history. You see, in 2017, the Construction Council of India found that despite bearing BIS standards, there were many steel rebars that failed the test, their test. So that is when we started in Delhi. We used to have Wednesday meetings, JPC and BIS. So then we decided that what to do with the batch method. Batch method, I mean, you have a decentralized area of testing, fantastic. But what to do with the batch method? There are maybe lots which escape this, the rules. Then there is another problem which happens in stainless steel, in your component production, in rebar production of mild steel. Which is that because these are using electricity as the main source of energy, the up and down, the variation in the voltage, the heat and electricity, this causes a problem of uniform standard throughout the length or throughout the sheet. So, this data, do you have a software for data acquisition and all to help Mr. Dahikar in doing the tests?
Good afternoon all. So let me answer the question, but before I answer, let me explain you what is Automotive Research Association in India so that it will correlate to my answer. Actually, we are into mainly three categories. So we are developing standards for launching the vehicle. So the vehicle should be developed as per those standards. So we help Government of India and auto industry to develop those standards. That complete, we have a complete committee for various vehicles, various types of vehicles and various components. And at the same time, we give the facility to auto industry to actually test those components on full vehicle as per the standards. At the same time, we have a dedicated research area. So, auto industry, tier 1 suppliers and even the material suppliers can avail that facility for the research, joint research or maybe sponsored research. Now, when it comes to any product, so what range of engagement that we are doing with industry that we can help? So for the materials, we have a dedicated team where we can have a testing of the materials independently. So we have a specimen testing for various requirements like fatigue, mechanical properties, chemical properties, high strain rate properties, and even metallurgical properties. So having those in having that database with the any OEM or tier 1 supplier, they do the virtual analysis of any product, and again that component is coming to us for a testing, not a mandatory testing, a development kind of testing. So madam what was telling was a product development, there we are doing the fatigue testing, and in fatigue testing we are using the specifications both the performance design specification or on-road specifications. So we go and measure the data on road while that component is mounted on that vehicle and collect that data and reproduce that loads on the laboratory, and then complete component is tested there. So that we call the testing of that component, and afterwards we actually test the entire vehicle so that same boundary conditions what vehicle is going to see will be tested as is during in the laboratory. So before launch of vehicle, this kind of development tests are there, and once the vehicle is ready, there is a standard CMVR will book, and we verify all the written performance of the vehicles as per that standard, and then the certificate is issued for the production of the vehicle. So here it is like that. After that also we have to check on the production line. So we have a facility, or you can say service called COP. It is a confirmation of product. So wherein we go and collect any vehicle from the production, and we again test that vehicle in the laboratory for various parameters, and then we issue the certificate to OEM. At the same time, so there are some safety critical components identified wherein we go to the production line and pick up those components, and those are again tested in the laboratory for the various performance requirement. So this is how the entire portfolio is. So some or the other we are helping industry for the production related quality checks. There are some other things which OEM and tier 1 supplier do independently. They have their own SOP where they give that SOP along with tier 1 supplier, and tier 1 supplier gives some of the components in the batch to our laboratory, and we test those for the quality checks. So in that quality checks, we again do the raw material testing up to the actually component testing. So this is the complete, we can say, engagement and various things of the product development cycle, where we have not yet entered into scrappage. For the scrappage, Government of India has dedicated scrappage center. So there they will be doing some research and some reproduction of the intensive material, use of the material. But to my knowledge, it is not available here as a scrappage.
So basically, regarding the development of standards is concerned, so we have more than 30,000 standards which are being developed by BIS. As you all would be aware that BIS is the National Standards Body of India. The standards that are formulated by BIS are termed as national standards. So if a new topic comes for standardization, this suggestion can be given by any citizen of India or through organization like Indian Stainless Steel Association, which is already a part of our standard formulation process. So they can suggest a topic on specific related to testing of certain components or products. So we can take up this topic for development of a new standard, Along with that, the development of standard happens centrally at Delhi. So it is a handful of people where experts from industry, from laboratories, manufacturers, and academia, professors of NITs and IITs, and some consumer groups. They are involved in purchase and of those goods, so they are involved in the standard formulation process. Along with that, we have another initiative that has been taken, that is Manak, which is done by the 35 branches which are located across the country of India, where we invite even the small scale manufacturers.
नहीं वो ठीक है वो खा लेंगे तू कभी
What
छोड़ के
are
मैं
the
के पास
problems
देखो
faced
5
by
साल का ही काम
the small scale manufacturers at the grassroots level?
सबका हो गया ना
We
5
can
का
take the suggestions that we receive from that program and we send it to the technical committee for deliberating upon those comments that were received, and then if they are found relevant, they can be taken up in the standard. So this is regarding the standard formulation process, and similarly it goes aligned with the certification process. So as I have told that we have 35 branches. So we have multiple products that are of stainless steel domain, which are under mandatory certification by BIS, which means that no manufacturer can produce, no stockist can store it, or no retailer can sell it. So without a BIS license. So we have a list of approximately 20 stainless steel products which are under mandatory certification, which are like stainless steel wires, rods, and then we have stainless steel utensils also, which are used in households under mandatory certification. And to ease the burden of certification on small scale manufacturers, we have relaxed the requirement for having a laboratory in-house. They can outsource the testing facility to a nearest NABL lab, or there may be a cluster of manufacturers who can share the laboratory, or they can get a, what you can say, outsource their testing to a large scale manufacturer who can do the testing for them. So in a way, the burden of compliance of the small scale industries has been reduced, and to encourage the small scale industries, we have provided a discount of a concession of 80% to the small scale and micro scale manufacturers, 80% for the micro scale, 50% for the small scale, and additional 10% concession is given to women entrepreneurs and manufacturers who are located in the northeastern part of India. We are given additional 10% concession to, you can say, promote the certification aspect. And regarding the testing wing of the BIS is concerned, so we have our own 10 laboratories which test products from various domains like chemical, mechanical, microbiological, gold, electrical, and we are closely around testing around 200 or 300 different products in our laboratories, and we have a net of BIS recognized laboratories which are close to 250 labs which are recognized by BIS for different products. The facilities of the same can be availed by our manufacturers. So there are some specific tests like there are like some simulations required, or it has got a lot of investment that is required. So the manufacturers can outsource that test facility to those laboratories, and they can get their product tested from their laboratory, those BIS recognized labs, and instead of having that facility in-house. So the testing aspect is covered by this. And to promote the use of ISI marked products, we have had meetings with the chief secretaries of the states. So recently we had a meeting with the chief secretary of Maharashtra, wherein it was directed that all the district collectors should have a training program like BIS, so that they are aware of all the procurement things and the standards for them. So we have started 3 years back, we have started district level officers training programs wherein we train the district supply officers and officers from public health, engineering department, CPWD, and related these programs and all. And take the standards to the grassroots level. We have connected with the Gram Panchayats as well. and we have formulated around 10,000 standard clubs in different schools of the country who are the flag bearers of BIS and quality. And the message of quality is right at the tender age. It goes into the students inculcating a culture of quality and consciousness in their curriculum.
Now we come to Mr. Nilesh Bhattar because this is a worry of myself and also of the industry. Now with this carbon footprint, CBA, I think that carbon emission is adding to the BIS standards as well. Because if we are now bidding for projects, we have to also bid according to our carbon footprints. So you are an expert in scope 3. So just enlighten us and the audience briefly.
Hello. So, thank you. I mean, we had a lot of different perspectives on the sector. But now coming to the carbon emission part or the sustainability part, I think it is the key now for the future. So now it is just not, so few years before, it was a wishful thinking. Everybody was wishing that, okay, they will do something to reduce their carbon emissions. But now it is not just a wishful thinking that they can do, but it is a mandate. It is a mandate in terms of policy which are driven by global policies as well as Indian government have introduced its own policies towards carbon emission reduction. Okay, so I basically talk about two policies. One is CBAM. So CBAM, what CBAM is like, CBAM is carbon border adjustment mechanism. So what CBAM actually tells is that if you are exporting to Europe, so be any small part, so like a small screw or a fastener or in a car, okay, so any component which has a steel in it, if it is going to Europe, they have to measure how much carbon emission which they are doing in producing that particular car. Okay, so that suddenly throw a very big challenge to especially small scale industries or SMEs which are exporting to Europe, number one, or they are supplying to someone in India and that company is further exporting to Europe. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we measure that? So first step in this process is to measure how much carbon emission is happening, and on top of it, there is a tax. Okay, so it is just not that you have to measure and report. The second thing is based on how much emission that you are doing. If you do more emission, you will have to pay more tax. And that is starting from January 26. And the impact on Indian industries is like minimum 10 to 12%. So basically, if something was the landing price was say 100 rupees in Europe, it would be now 112 rupees suddenly. So this 12% of margin is going to cut down their profit. Okay, so it is a huge impact that as an industry, as a steel industry, everybody has to see. Okay, and like in Indian context, we are exporting 25% of our steel to Europe. Okay, that is a very huge number. So this is the international context. Now coming to the Indian context, India has recently introduced green taxonomy. Okay, so what does this regulation tell is that you have to first measure how much is the emission that you are doing in your production process. Then you will be given rating. Okay, so there are ratings like green steel, 5-star, 3-star. So they have defined what is the production process that you follow and how much emission that you do in that production process. And if you don't do it, so there are incentives. So for all government projects now going forward, very soon the regulation will come to user and all the bodies that they need to use the green steel because that is the incentive on the end users to actually work on this greener initiative. And the larger aspect, everybody understands that, everybody knows that temperature is rising, everything is rising. But as an industry, as an individual organization, as an individual, what can be done? For that, there are a lot of policies, there are checks and balances which are getting set. I think that will drive a lot of changes. And next few years, focused on sustainability, and if companies doesn't focus on that, they tend to lose their business.
Thank you, Mr. Nilesh. Actually, as an economist, I can see that the whole CBAM thing is going to, will require a change in our thinking, because we must become more and more reflective of our policy of industrial protection, of blocking imports from China, Indonesia, and Vietnam, whether that's going to be economical for my companies. Because here I have to source carbon-free steel, and that is a cost. And then again, I'm taking the burden of all these things, rather than if I source steel, inputs from places which already are better in CBAM, then I can expand my capacity at home. So these are the more complex issues which I think the policy will have to take on. But I would like to ask Dr. Thumba, that have you ever used in the context of your projects carbon-free steel, not carbon-free steel, but stainless steel with lower and lesser carbon emissions, and has that differed in quality?
Hello. Yeah. Yes, I was talking about question.
Okay.
In that question only, we had mentioned the parameters. What would be the percentage of nickel we can contribute carbon? So, as per these parameters, the contractors, LNP, BCC, they all the contractors, like corporation, they all the contractors. So we in that particular tender, we have made free for contractor to use different type of material, latest material innovations. We had only mentioned the parameters. So in that case, in one of the blocks, we had mentioned either the contractor can use stainless steel material, stainless steel rebars, or they can use primary, because as we know there are two primary and secondary. Normally we don't secondary always primary steel. And there was use of carbon inhibitor. It's a type of motorcycle which coats and there is no process, there is no chemical reaction between concrete and steel. So it acts as a barrier between the two and the carbon. So we are always open for durable structure and sustainable structure. Yes, in future, as we said, we also think for carbon footprints. How we can use, we also seriously thinking about carbon emission because after this construction projects, we have to use natural materials which can reduce carbon. Even we can get carbon credits by using one such type of product. Yes, one type is stainless steel. But as I said, that this when it comes to large project, of course we go for sustainable material, but parallelly we also think about the economic. So that cost will be reduced. So I think in coming days, as Sir has rightly said that they had arranged different lectures or training programs at different levels. So once this different training programs goes to classroom, of course they will start from higher level because they have the members, but it should go to classroom. And once it is awareness is among all the engineers and policymakers, definitely this.
Dr. Thopar, I'm just asking you that because you're a scientist, you're a PhD, you're a scientist, you're in a much better position. Is it possible for us to develop any kind of causality or at least correlation between low carbon emission and quality of our
Ready.
Is it true that those steels which have lower carbon emission in the process also do qualitatively better?
In fact, it's a dream that there should be no carbon because of course, yes. So again, lots of research are going on in science. How to reduce carbon.
In
operation.
Just to add what the two speakers before me have said. So every Indian standard is now evaluated for the sustainability angle, which is as per the ISO Sustainable Development Goals. So it is mandatory to scrutinize each standard thoroughly with respect to the sustainability.
That means what IS is whatever 176 that is I'm talking about by steel. So it will have an ESG component.
Not necessarily, but we have to think about, let us say, if we introduce any additional requirement or the present requirements are there in the standard, they should not have a burden on the environment.
Right.
So that,
then this brings me to another very interesting question. Now the
दोनों को पकड़ लूँगा?
BIS now requires that if I am importing steel, say from China, Vietnam, wherever, then these imports are also requiring BIS certification. Shall we do that for carbon certification also?
Yes. As you rightly pointed out, whatever is coming in, that is also very critical. So when we measure carbon emission, there are two types of emission. One is direct emission, which is being in your production process. But there is indirect emission, which is added. So when we calculate final carbon emission, it is always a sum of direct emission plus indirect emission. And like as you said, the material which is coming in, that is responsible for indirect emission because that emission are already happened somewhere. To produce that material, somebody had processed something, did something on that, and to count that, somebody has to count that, and then only final emission can be calculated. And specifically now, when it comes to CBAM standard, it says that your entire supply chain, it is just not you, your entire supply chain, we need the actual emission data. And that's where it becomes a very big challenge for countries like India, because then the supply chain is not yet that skillful. So we have like some traders, very small manufacturer, like 4 people, 5 people doing some workshop work, and they are producing something. So now to get this paper up to that level, to understand, to measure, because they don't know what this emission is, now to tell them that suddenly give the reports of your carbon emission is suddenly a big jump for them as well. So as a country, as a policy, there is a lot of work that needs to be done. But to answer your question, yes, it is mandated by the policy makers and it has to be done.
I think here we must look forward, as forward thinking to Meta, because actually, if you can make a software, that is the future. Really, the future lies now in software, because over multiple data, so if we know exactly through an app and things like that what to fill up and what to get, in terms of the carbon. So I think that would be really helpful, and there probably you can become a big Microsoft yourself. Now I have a time constraint, so what I do is that can we now open the floor for discussions? Yes?
Ready.
No, what I think that we can have the discussions then. Yeah, I think a lot of very talented and well-known people are sitting in the audience, so we can have a discussion now.
अच्छा crowd करेगा
Hello, my name is Rajiv Thakur. I am from Fortran District, Mumbai. I have two questions. One question from Dr. Vishal and another question, it's not a question, from Smita ma'am, about my knowledge about green steel. which I think that we will be able to throw some more light on. So first I'll ask from Dr. Vishal that you must be using global bar as well as crash guard in the construction and are you thinking of switching over to stainless steel, that is SS304 for the global bar as well as the crash guard which is made out of galvanized steel?
Yes, certainly we are thinking about it, and very soon we'll introduce this in our commentators. But lots of thinking is going on that. As I said, we already started using steel railings on few parts. But yes, what you say, we are thinking on it. Very soon it will come in our commentators.
Because it depends on, we are going for a stainless steel manufacturing. We are also a general stainless steel distributor. So it will really enhance our market penetration. That's global bar we are supplying it to various government departments for the road. So it will really help us.
Yeah.
So as regards my second question with Sushmita ma'am, as far as I know about green steel, green steel does not have any relation with the mechanical properties or the properties of the steel. Basically, it is for the environment. So, if it is really linked with the enhancement of the quality of the steel, if we are going through the green steel route, I would like to get myself known about this fact. Thank you.
Now I have another circular question to Dr. Thumpane. As the gentleman says, what is going to be the difference? I mean, do we gain anything by making the crash barrier stainless steel?
Yeah, there are two key
Ajay.
advantages right now I can see. First of all, the life is right now. Secondly, that will not come on this, so that will be zero maintenance if you are using stainless steel.
Regarding your question on material quality and carbon emission, I think I'm not a metallurgist, I'm an economist.
Focus out.
But I think commonsensically, low carbon emission, low GHG emission should add to the quality. Because what is the emission? It is extra material. And it is in complete combustion. So I think that low carbon and high quality of steel are correlated.
I will just add to that specific green steel part. So, sir's question was that I'm not changing anything mechanically into the metal. So, what exactly I'm achieving doing that? Am I right, sir?
In the steel through green steel technology. As far as I know, I am a metallurgist also. As far as I know, green steel is basically to control the environment pollution. Because green steel does not impart anything extra in the chemistry of the material or the physical properties of the material.
I just add because I think you already explained mechanically or specifically the chemical composition what happens. But when we say green steel, why so much is happening? So yes, you are right that mainly it is the emission which is happening, which is causing the harm to environment. And we are just not looking on high level emission. We are looking micro level that in my production process. Okay, so in my production process, what is causing the more emission? So, like for example, if you use more electricity, okay, and if that the same production can be achieved using less electricity, it is naturally going to benefit me in my production process. At the same time, it is going to add my value towards the greater scheme because the lesser resources I use, the lesser materials which are causing harm to environment is I use, it is going to improve my efficiency overall, and that is also going to add the value to environment. So it is a dual benefit, is what I can just tell you.
Yeah, this question is for Mr. Vinesh. I think you have done a very good summary of the carbon emissions. I just one question. Raw and stainless steel concern. How our Indian steel industry carbon emissions are compared as of today to the European steel industry? Because I think there the requirement is less than 1.7 units carbon per ton.
I'm sorry, if you could repeat it because I was barely able to hear.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, it is my question.
Sorry. My question is that how Indian stainless steel or steel industry emissions fare with the European steel industry emissions, because you know the CBAM was imposed by Europe first in EU, and their units of carbon per ton are defined less than 1.7. So how are we placed in India? This is my question, and how are you going to bring it down? Thank you.
Great question, sir. So, like you rightly pointed out, Europe started well ahead. So they had EU ETS system. Like some people might be aware, they had a EU ETS system, and it was a kind of a tax. And it was a tax for the European companies to reduce their emissions, and that's why their approximate emissions per ton is less than 1.7. And as far as India is concerned, we are about 2.2. Okay, that there is a huge gap. There is a huge gap, and for Indian context now, like you might be now seen, new document is being released by Indian Steel Ministry, Indian government. It talks about green taxonomy, and they have clearly defined these markers. Okay, or the benchmarks. That what are these benchmarks? So if you are emitting below 2.2, then only you would be considered into green steel. Then they have defined that what is the 5-star. So if you are below 1.6, then you are 5-star green steel. If you are between 1.6 to 2, then you are 3-star. Okay, so this is how currently the Indian context is. As far as Indian scenario is concerned, a lot of industry, the steel industry basically, is using coal. Okay, so coal is one of the major factors in their production process, and which is the highest contributor of the emission which is happening. And to change that, there is a lot of investment that these companies will have to do. But now there is no option because your steel will get costlier. Since your taxes will be higher, the steel will be costlier, and we cannot sustain in the global market if we don't work on it. So that is the reality of it.
Hello. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a desalination expert. I was in Middle East and other countries. This is regarding the tariff issue which is bobbing all over the world. Now, what would be the tariff structure on the export of steel products or raw materials or scrap, the import and export? Somebody would highlight on this. I should appreciate. Thank you.
So I'll tell you the specifically the tariff related to like there are for US there are a lot of to and fro happening that you might be knowing, but specifically the calculation part, how it will work in terms of the emission. I'll tell you how they have defined the calculation part. So there are 3 components when they consider the tax part or the tariff part. Okay, so the first is the emission number. They call it as specific embedded emissions, which are happening in your production process. We need to calculate that multiplied by the carbon rate. Okay, so currently the carbon rate in Europe is 85 euros, and it could be around 100 euros in next 6 to 8 months. Okay, so your emission numbers multiplied by the carbon rate multiplied by the how much ton that you are exporting. So these are 3 numbers which will get multiplied, and the net impact that we see is around at least 8 to 12%, depending on how much emission that you are doing. There is one correction on the emission number. They have not defined the benchmarks yet. That's okay, because naturally, if you are producing something, some emission will happen. Okay, so now they are going to, so the European Union is going to release certain benchmarks, and above that benchmark, whatever are your emission numbers, then further calculation stage.
Actually, the problem with this carbon border or even carbon tax anywhere in the world, you see, our entire system of tariffs and the entire logic of putting tariffs will change. You see, this is decarbonization of the industry is a new economy in many ways. It means new scale, it means new technology, it means new possibilities of investments and speculative investment in buying and selling of carbon credit. And what is interesting is the entire theory of economics that have underlain our steel policy or any policy for that matter will change completely. So it's a fully different world, a world that has never existed before is going to come through the decarbonization economy.
Hello, good afternoon. So my question is in regard to the certification. As already Nilesh sir told that carbon emission we have, but including the carbon emission, what other environmental aspects are to be considered in BIS certification? Also the economical aspect as well, and will they affect the overall manufacturing cost?
So, first thing is the sustainability angle is addressed directly in the standards. The certification aspect does not deal with the sustainability or the environmental impact part. The certification aspect only deals with the quality of the product in adherence with the relevant Indian standard. I hope that answers.
I do have back to it. So your question was multifold. You talked about standard and the certification, and also added the carbon part to it, the carbon tax. So see now certification is slightly different, and the carbon tax that we are talking on the carbon emission calculation. Per se for Europe, if you are talking specifically to export, it is not a certification; it is accounting. Okay, so basically every quarter you need to calculate how much emission which has happened in your production process, and every quarter you need to report with every shipment that you do. So now the second part of your question was, will it increase your cost of production? So certainly yes, because now this is the additional thing which first part is the calculation that you must do. So there is some additional component to it which you have to consider. The second part is that because of the tax angle to it, you now need to work towards including renewable energy sources in your equation. Okay, so there has to be some capital investment which sooner or later you will have to do, and that is going to increase your overall production cost at least in the short run. I hope I tried to cover what you wanted to ask.
I think this is the last audience question we can take. We can take one last question. Okay, I have 5 more minutes, so I think we can take 2 questions.
In fact, it's a repetition of what I initially raised. My knowledge about green steel is no improvement as far as the quality of material is concerned. Maybe there would be saving in the processing loss or things like that, but ultimately the same steel will cost you more if you are going through the green steel route with the 5-star rating, 3-star rating or single-star rating. So I would like to know, is it going to have an improvement in the quality of steel if I go through green steel?
I think there will be an improvement in quality of steel. It is only logical.
It is more of a metallurgical question which I
Yeah.
can position to actually give the answer, but maybe
Yes, I
home
think-
minister can, I don't know.
No, actually it does improve green steel. I mean, if you have better, of course it was not green at that point of time, better GHG parameters definitely led to improvement in steel quality, because in JPC we had that study of, on pollution control, the relationship between polluting industries and their quality, and yes, the non-polluting industries had better quality. It's simple chemistry actually. Where does the pollution come? From inadequate combustion. So that is it. Yes, quality will improve. Definitely quality will improve. Any other question? Yes. Hello.
This question is for Dr. Vishal Kaur. You mentioned about coastal roads. Municipal corporation also has the pumping station there, which makes a lot of hydrogens and fire. And I remember in OEPC, they used to subdue the quantities in order to fix stainless steel for reducing the pollution. So is this special stainless steel used by coastal road contractors?
No, actually, there was a condition of using stainless steel for reinforcement, whether it was beams or deck slabs. The parameters that the contractor was free to use either stainless steel or innovators. It was one contractor what to use. We are only mentioning the parameters. Yes, it is producers who can function. And in futures, of course, as I said, it's a cost parameter approach because we are thinking holistically. But yes, as far as carbon credits are concerned, because now we should think about carbon emission and carbon credits. So if we emphasize on carbon credits, look, if you are going to use this natural resources, and if carbon emission is reduced, and by using of these materials, different materials, stainless steel or different material, you can get carbon credits. So people will definitely they will start using all these products.
We are at the end of our time now. So I think that I have retired from Ministry of Steel for 5 years, but before that there was 35 years behind that as well. So in the 40 years that I have seen the stainless steel industry, it has really jumped up from being a producer of utensils, then to kitchen sinks, then to furniture, then to railings, then escalators, heavily into construction, then coaches, this railway coaches. It has come a very long way, and now there is an enormous jump in technology because we are producing medium to heavy sections in the long product. These are our classification names actually, in the long product section. So this has already been a jump in technology. The next jump in technology is coming from decarbonization. That is another whole economy. So I think that stainless steel has a lot of work to do. It has come a long way, and 2027 we see another big jump. Thank you so much.